Hello friends, it's Barbara Sue. I am the creator of the blog and YouTube channel Kowalski Mountain. Welcome back. So today I am going to do an experiment and I'm going to bring you along for the ride. So one of the things that homesteaders do is we preserve food and products to use in times when they're less plentiful. One thing that we are not used to as consumers is that food is actually seasonal. We're used to being able to go into the grocery store and buy whatever we want, whenever we want it, no matter what season it is. But food is really grown seasonally, naturally. And eggs are a seasonal product as well. So in the spring and the summer, the chickens are going to lay abundantly. They're going to produce a good number of eggs, typically one a day. And most people that I know that keep chickens are always trying to give away eggs. But come winter, the egg production really starts to drop off. Now we don't use an abundance of eggs. I still want to learn how to preserve them so that when egg production is down, that we have fresh eggs available for use. Now, there are several different things that people do. Sometimes people will freeze the eggs. You can actually crack the egg into a ice cube tray and you can freeze it. And then you can pop them out and you can use those eggs whenever you'd like. And that's used for eggs that are used in baking or maybe scrambled eggs. Another popular method is to freeze dry the eggs. And this actually works really good. You freeze dry the eggs and they dry down to a powder, and then you just add water to the eggs and they look just like scrambled eggs. And those also can be used in baking. But the method of preserving fresh eggs right in their shells is a little bit more complicated. So there's a couple of different methods that people use, and it's called water glassing eggs. Now, there's a couple of different chemical compounds that you can use to do this. One of them is called sodium silicate, and that chemical is actually used to seal concrete. Now, I don't know about you, but that just doesn't sit really well with me, that I would use a product that I would seal concrete with on my eggs. So that option's kind of out for me. The other method that people use is to use pickling lime. Now, pickling lime is typically used to make pickles crisp. They tend to get a little mushy sometimes when you're preserving them, and this kind of helps with that. But this can also be used to preserve the eggs. Now, it's commonly called water glassing, but it uses a different chemical compound than the sodium silicate. And this is a food-safe product, so I feel a lot better about putting my eggs into this. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to take you along for the experiment. I've not done this yet, and I'm just going to see how it works. We're going to mix it up. We're going to start putting some eggs in this jar today, and then over the next few months I'm going to update you and show you how it works. So I've already measured out my water and my pickling lime. So this is a 1 quart of water to 1 ounce of pickling lime. Now some people do this in a 5-gallon bucket and they're doing a lot at a time. I'm going to just do a gallon-sized jar. This is supposed to hold 3 dozen eggs. And like I said, we don't use a lot of eggs, so that is a good number for us. And you do need to use your eggs when they're fresh. Now let me go ahead and mix this up. So I have 1 ounce of pickling lime in my 1 quart of water. I'm just going to mix that up. Now I've seen some pictures of them doing this, and the lime is going to settle into the jar, which is going to be okay. Now this is not going to fill my jar of water. I will add additional solution as needed. Give that, actually, I'm going to need quite a bit more. I'm going to go ahead and add more water now because that is not going to be near enough for my solution. So I'm going to go ahead and add more now. One of my concerns that I don't want to do is I don't want to put in too much solution and not have enough room for eggs. So I'm trying to be cautious of that. And I think we're going to be on the edge of that being a problem now. So I have 3 quarts of water in here right now. I'm going to go ahead and add the additional pickling lime. So I need 2 additional ounces of pickling lime. That's 1 ounce. There it is. That's 2 ounces of pickling lime. I'm going to dump that in. I do think that we're going to run out of space in this jar. When using this preservation method, you can only use unwashed fresh eggs. Now that's a really important piece of this experiment. Eggs naturally have on them what's called a bloom, and that's just a film that covers the egg naturally, and it protects it. It prevents the egg from getting bacteria and such in it. When you wash the egg, you remove the bloom and then make the egg more vulnerable to things passing through the shell and contaminating your eggs. So only clean, unwashed, fresh eggs. Now, if you've ever had chickens, you know the eggs are not always clean. Some are dirty, some are poopy. You don't want to use those eggs. Also, if you've kept ducks, this method is probably not a good method of preserving duck eggs because duck eggs are always dirty, very dirty, because they lay them in the mud and they bury them and all kinds of other things. So those eggs are probably not the best for preserving. Now all we're going to do is we're going to put the eggs in the lime water solution. Now I am using regular tap water. We are in a well here. There is some mineral content to it. So remember, this is still an experiment for me. Some people buy distilled water to do this with, but I want to try the experiment. I want to see how this works with the water that I have on hand and just see how it works. So in the jar we've done 3 quarts of water and 3 ounces of pickling lime. Now the lime is drying to your hands. I'm still going to put my hands in it. The other thing that we need to do, and probably won't be able to do it today, but once I have enough eggs to fill the bottom of the jar, I'm going to make sure to stand every egg up on its point. So in every egg that you have, there's an air sac at the top, and that is where the chick gets their first initial breath of air, and they have that energy and air to get out of their egg. Now that is going to help preserve the eggs. That air sac will stay at the top. It's kind of a cushion to all the eggs sitting on top. But right now I only have a half a dozen eggs, so I won't be able to do that right up front. Now I'm going to go ahead and just put them in the solution. Now, like I said, our chickens are not laying really well right now. We only get a few eggs a day. So I'm just going to put these in every day, and I'll keep track of how long and the dates. And then in a few months, I am going to do an experiment with you. We're going to open them up, and we're going to compare it from a fresh egg to an egg that I preserved in the pickling solution. Now, one thing to note is even though I'm using pickling lime, the eggs are not going to be pickled. That is a different process with a brine, and that would give the eggs a pickled flavor. These are supposed to be just like fresh eggs. So we're going to see what happens. I'll keep you up to date, and together we're going to learn how this egg preservation method works for our fresh eggs. Now, I have labeled the top of my jar with today's date. That is the date that we're starting it. And this is going to be kept in a cool, dry area. Now, we have a pantry where we keep all of our home goods that we need to keep cool. It's air conditioned. So this is going to go in there on the shelf. These eggs will be shelf stable, and they're supposed to be good for a couple of years. Now, the research that I've done, they're really good up to about a year. And then after that, they start to lose some quality. But we are so spoiled in a time where we always have access to things like eggs. In past generations, they would have been a little less picky about the quality of those eggs near the end of that cycle, and they would have used them anyway because they didn't have other methods of preservation or the abundance of food that we have. So I'll keep you up to date. I will do another video in a few months to update you on the progress of the eggs that I'm preserving in the pickling lime solution, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. That helps our channel to grow. Thanks for coming.